Okay, is everyone here that wants to be here?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's get started then. I'm going to be talking about mine and Sundry's pursuit of financial freedom. It's kind of just our journey in like lowering expenses, increasing cash flow, increasing passive income streams, and just so that we can live our life the way we want to, as I'm sure everyone else has a way that they want to engineer their life and their lifestyle to just the way you want to be. And really, achieving financial freedom allows you to do that. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I work for the Department of Defense. I work in the prototype development, so I'm building prototypes, either weapons or just armor, defense. It could be anything. I've been working there since 2013 full-time. I started interning in 2010. So I just make parts, and that's my day job. I graduated from Stevens with a bachelor's and master's in 2013 with Victor. We both went to Stevens. I was on the ultimate team. This was a presentation I did with middle schoolers 4 weeks ago. I added things, of course, because you guys are middle schoolers. But yeah, we were talking about. Okay, I got blessed in 2012 to Sunry. She's out there. We had a baby last year, 2015. That's Valen. Very cute. Some could argue the cutest baby here.
Losing battle, man.
Okay. Yeah, so that's us. That's me, that's my wife, and that's my baby. So last year we actually started our own investment property business. We call it Metal Horse Properties. I was born the year of the Metal Horse. Had a nice ring to it. That's what we went with. Yeah, it was a 4-family property. I'll be going more into that later. There's some pictures of some renovations we did. There's Victor and Carlson helping us demo the place and yeah, throwing stuff out, throwing cabinets out the window. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, so it's been a fun summer, fun fall doing all that. And then recently we kind of got started trying to find other avenues of income streams. We started an Amazon business. We're doing fulfillment by Amazon. So we're on Prime actually. So you can go hop on Amazon and buy this pacifier that we've supplied and started selling on Amazon. And we're starting to make a little bit of cash flow on that. We're selling about 10 pacifiers a day. You know, it's not a huge profit margin, but we're just getting started, just exploring and seeing what other ways to make income. So I'll go more into that later too. So why financial freedom? As Oliver kind of mentioned earlier, I really loved it. He said, time, not money, is your most valuable asset. But money allows you that freedom to kind of spend your time as you see fit. You know, Sunry and I really want to raise an ideal family. That's our goal in life, you know. It's not about making the most money, but we want to raise Valen the way we want to. And for us, that means Sunry staying home with him. You know, she was homeschooled growing up. Her mom was with her all her education years. And we want to kind of provide that same level of love and care. That's the way we feel is the best way to raise our family. And really starting this investment business for us allowed us that financial freedom to take care of Valen the way we see is the best way to do it. And kind of that journey is kind of what I want to share with you guys. Maybe you guys just want to stop living paycheck to paycheck, you know? Just waiting like every month, counting that, oh, I want that paycheck to come in at the first of the month so that I can survive, you know? And you want to just get away from that. Or yeah, like us, maybe you just want that freedom to raise the family how you want to. Or maybe you want to retire at age 30, you know? And travel the world. There's some great examples of bloggers out there. Mr. Money Mustache, him and his wife, I think they're software developers. They retired at the age of 30. They had a baby, and yeah, they were able to retire at the age of 30, not by running huge businesses. They were just regular engineers, but they bicycled to work. You know, they lived frugally, and they just saved up a whole bunch of money and invested it. And you know, they're just living off the appreciation of their investments and their dividends. And they're just able to live in a very comfortable small home, but you know, they don't have to work. They can just live off their investments. How awesome is that? Go Curry Cracker, again, I think they retired around like 35. They're a young couple. They also have a baby, and now they just live off their investments and travel the world. And they keep their money low by traveling the world. They're perpetual travelers. They don't own a home. They just go from place to place, and they go based on the economy. Like European economy was low. They're like, oh, we want to go visit Europe. Let's go rent a home for a month in Europe and make our American dollar worth a lot and just go travel around. Oh, the economy's up a lot. Let's go to a Latin American country where $1 can get you a whole bunch. Like they have a $400 apartment with like a pool suite on the roof, and I don't know. It's pretty cool. Check out the blog. So if that's something you're into, these are all avenues you can explore. And really, you can, like, so when you start getting that career paycheck, if you can save a majority of that, you can quickly accumulate a large amount of wealth. So building wealth, some key terms, some key definitions that I'm going to be talking about is income. So that's the money you bring in. I like to think of it, there's a lot of people who talk about like an offense and defense to finances. So income is kind of like your offensive strategy, how much money you're going to bring in. Expenses are like your defense. So if you can have really good defense and really not spend too much money, that's a key aspect to playing a really good financial game and saving a lot of money. And so if you play really good defense and you play really good offense, that's really how you build wealth. So you have to minimize those expenses, live frugally. There's Dave Ramsey, I think, Naomi already talked about him a lot, but he's great at giving basic financial advice, the essentials you need to kind of live. And he says, live like no one else so that you can live like no one else. And what that means really is just, at the moment, you're going to be, I don't know, just be really, really frugal, and that in time will just pay off. And you can save up all your money for the future and really enjoy all the investments. Because time is really your friend here. Start young, start early, and start investing as much as you can, as soon as you can. And really that compound interest over time is just going to accumulate double, triple, quadruple, and yeah, you'll just live off the cash flow of that investments. So cash flow. Cash flow is income minus expenses. So you want your cash flow to be positive at the end of every month. If your expenses are more than your income, you're going into debt. You're taking out credit card debt, you're taking out loans, and you're just sinking further and further into a financial pit, and you're going to eventually go into bankruptcy. So you want your cash flow to always be, you want your income to always be more than your expenses. You always want your cash flow to be positive. And the more positive it can be, the quicker you will achieve wealth. It's a very basic formula, basic idea. So, assets. A lot of people think a car is an asset. As Carl mentioned before, Robert Kiyosaki really goes into this, and he says, like, a car is not really an asset. It just depreciates. It doesn't pay you. It doesn't give you money. An asset is something, well, we'll kind of go into that, but an asset is something that pays you money. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a rental property. Yeah, there's many forms of assets. A car is more of a liability. You got to pay insurance, you got to pay gas, anyway. A liability is something that costs you. So I have two houses here. They're both around the same price range. We actually bought this house. Very desirable looking house, right? Which house would you guys rather have? For both we bought our house for $430,000. Okay, it's a 4-family property. These towns are right next to each other. This house is listed at $445,000. I found it yesterday browsing on Realtor.com. And so this is a single family, 5-bedroom, 2-bath house. It looks really nice. And this is a 4-family kind of grungy looking building, 12 bedrooms, 4 baths. But anyway, looking at these two, right now you guys are thinking, I really want to live here. That's the ideal home, I want to raise my family there. That's picturesque. I want that. Right? Okay, which ones would you guys rather have? This is definitely more appealing, right?
Yeah. Which one's the asset?
Yeah, but which one is the asset and which one's the liability? Is this house an asset? You're going to buy this house for $445,000? You're like, I got a great house, I got a great car, I have a great life, I'm raising this family with this great house, this great car. But guess what? Your paycheck is going straight into that house for the rest of 30 years you're looking, So I'm going to go more into that asset and liability. But let's go back to income. The standard way a person makes income, primarily for, I feel like 90% of us, would just be a paycheck, right? It's your career. That's your income coming in. And usually the best way to, I guess, improve your offensive strategy then would be to get a raise, a promotion, work harder, work longer hours. But that doesn't really appeal to me. I'm sure it doesn't really appeal to you to work 80-hour weeks. No one really wants to do that. So I kind of want to talk to you guys about building passive income streams. Something that you don't have to, like Carl said, an hour worth of work to make $1. You want to be able to put minimal amount of work and have a system in place that's going to be constantly giving you income. Like that Amazon business. Every time I get an order, I don't have to ship that because I do fulfillment by Amazon. I send Amazon 100 pieces of product. As soon as it sells, Amazon ships it for me. I don't have to put on that sticker, wrap up that package, and send it. So that's an automated passive income business. I just source the product. Maybe it takes me an hour to find the product, an hour to ship it to Amazon, put my labels on it, and then when they get a click on their, oh, look at this pacifier, I want to buy it. Someone buys it in California. Then Amazon says, okay, let's take this from our fulfillment center and we'll ship it for you to Amazon. And that's a nice passive income business. I don't want to be shipping this stuff because that's going to take time out of my day. That's 10 minutes less I can spend with my son. So you want to create these passive income streams. So I'm going to go into kind of our purchase. So our expenses on this house, so this is a $430,000 house. Imagine buying this for yourself without getting any rental income. So our mortgage for $430,000, we put 10% down. So we have to save up enough money. What's 10% of $430,000? $43,000. We have to save up $43,000. That may sound like a lot, but right now I'm making $80,000 a year as an engineer. When I started, I was making maybe $55,000. And Sunmi was a teacher. She was making $50,000. So between us, we were making good income, $100,000 a year. So you can save. But a lot of people, they get a new job. Oh, I worked so hard. Let me go buy myself a brand new BMW. And then instantly you're like upgrading your lifestyle as soon as you get those higher rates. But me and Sunmi, we're smart. We were like, no, we're not going to upgrade our lifestyle. We're going to live at home. We're going to, we're not going to go out to eat every night. We're going to pack our own lunches to work. We're going to, live frugally, because we want to sacrifice now because we don't care about that car. We care about raising our ideal family, That's what's important to us. It's not the fancy car. We don't want to show off to our friends. We want to have that freedom to raise the family the way we want to. That's what's important to us. And you got to really think long-term about those things, so we're willing to make those sacrifices now so that we can be there for our kids in the future, and hopefully we'll have money to really support anyone, support our parents, support anyone we really support the interests that we have. Anyway, let's go back to this. Sorry for digressing. So we're paying $1,845 a month just for the mortgage. Property taxes, they're $10,000 a year. Insurance is $2,000 a year. Utilities like electricity, heat, $1,500 a year. Water bill, $474 a year. Sewer bill, $480 a year. Total, that's $3,100 a month. How many people make $3,100 a month? That's around a $36,000 salary. That's a lot of money. If you're making $50,000 a year, that's a good 75% of your income, So if you had that house, imagine that paying $3,100 a month. And maybe you wouldn't buy that $445,000 house, but maybe you'd buy a $250,000 house. That's still, for 30 years, you're going to be paying that amount. And after 30 years, you're still paying a good portion of that. You're not paying the $1,845, so maybe you're paying like $1,500 a month. That's a lot of money to be sinking into a home. So is that house really an asset that you're building, or is that a liability? I consider that a liability, You're chained to that house. You're chained, 50% of your paycheck is chained to putting money into that house. So now, let's take our house instead, so $3,100. But we have a 4-family property. We live in Unit 1. We live in Unit 1. I'll go more into that. So we live for free, essentially. We don't have to pay a landlord rental money because we bought this house. So we have Unit 1. Unit 2, we give to our parents-in-law. And we don't charge them market rents. We give them a discount because they're family, And they helped us out. They came in when the place wasn't beautiful. So we only charge them $1,000 a month. So these are all 3-bedroom, 1-bath units. Unit 3 we rent out to people we've marketed to, and we rent to them for $1,700 a month. Unit 4 we also rent for $1,700 a month. And then we charge one of them a parking spot $10 a month, and then we have coin-operated laundry machines that bring around $50 a month. So in total we're bringing in $4,400 a month. So we're making more than we are losing to expenses. And usually when you're talking about real estate, you want to factor in vacancy costs if the tenant leaves. So usually you want to factor in around 8% vacancy, and you want to factor in maintenance costs, but I'm not going to go into that. So we're cash flowing $1,300 a month, and we live for free. And we're giving a discount to our parents-in-law. So let's say that we move out of here. That rental unit is now free to rent out to other people. That's an additional $1,500 we can tack on to that number. And then let's say our parents-in-law move out. That's an additional $500 we can easily tack onto that number. Now that property is making $3,300 a month. $3,300 a month. That's $40,000 a year cash in your pocket by buying this property. $40,000 a year. How much did I pay for this property? How much cash did I invest in this property? 10% of $430,000. That's $43,000. So every year I make that back. Let alone, that's just cash in my pocket. I'm also gaining equity in this property. You know, my tenants are paying me $1,800 a month to put into the savings of my house. In 30 years, I'm going to own this house outright, and not a penny of that money, okay, maybe the $43,000 that I initially put, but not a penny after that's going to be my money. They're paying to pay for my house. So imagine all you renters out there, you're making your landlords rich. Don't you want to be on that other end of the spectrum? Also, you have so that's equity you're building. In 30 years, I own this house outright. Free and clear, a $430,000 home. Free and clear, and that tenants are paying for. And then, all these things are deductions that I can place on my taxes. You know, just quick, $10,000 in property taxes I can just write off my income. So I'm not paying taxes on that. So that's a huge advantage. Okay, here's some cool before and after photos. I'm proud of our work. Carlson helped a whole bunch of that. He painted this whole thing. That's kind of a cool shot, but that would look a lot worse. So yeah, there's some pictures. There's our laundry machine. So we were adding value to this property. You know, we bought a kind of rundown property, but we added a whole ton of value to this thing. And I'll go into why that's kind of important a little later. So that's a kitchen that we rebuilt. You saw Victor and Carlson ripping this thing out. We had a lot of help from other BCs, which was awesome. Yeah, we didn't hire too many contractors. We did a lot of it ourselves. We put in 20 grand of our own money into this property. And that's a lot of just not contractors. This is just materials and labor. Anyway, the pictures are a lot better on the computer. They don't look so impressive here. But like appliances, you know, we didn't buy brand new appliances, but we found on Craigslist all these, like this is a $2,000 refrigerator that I bought for $450 on Craigslist. Every time we showed this unit, they're like, the refrigerator stays, right? The apartment comes with a refrigerator. Yeah, so we put a lot of work into this thing. You know, Summer just had a baby and she's doing this. So, you know, we made quite a bit of sacrifices to even be able to buy this house. And now, even though we bought this house, we took the worst unit available. We took the worst unit just because we want to make those sacrifices now so we don't have to make them later. We want our sacrifices now to be able to grow into this huge pot of money in the future. Yeah, so we live on the first floor, and our in-laws live on the second floor. There's Carlson. There's you like those stenciled garbage cans? That's pretty neat, huh? I'm proud of those. That's Valen with our neighbor, and yes, they do have a dog, but they're very nice people. Yeah, so yeah, this is we held 3 open houses when we bought our rental properties, and this is the amount of people that we kind of brought in off the street. I think we had 40 groups come over 3 weekends when we were showing the property. Another kind of fun fact is when we showed this property. A cool thing about a rental property is you can have all these deductions. So that 20 grand that we spent on this property is now going to be deducted off our income. So that's 20 grand that we don't have to pay taxes on. But also, we were able, with our rental property business, to pay Valen. We paid Valen $1,100 to be a baby model. We said that he helped us market this property during our open houses to families. We wanted to bring families to stay longer at the rental properties. So we said he was there with us. He helped. It was a marketing tool. He was a baby model that attracted all these young families to come look at this property and make it more family friendly. So we paid him $1,100. So that was $1,100 off our high tax income that we gave to Valen. And Valen then had $1,100 of earned income to fund his IRA. We gave him a Roth IRA at the tender age of 0. At 0 years old, he has an IRA that's going to grow tax-free for the rest of his life. You know, 65 years of tax-free growth. Can you imagine how much that $1,100 investment is going to be in 65 years? That he can just pull without paying another penny to taxes. That's going to be super powerful, you know. And with a rental business, you can make those choices. You can pay your kids. It's up to a certain amount, you know. But there's so many possibilities that you can really go with. And like I said, we bought our property, we put $20,000 of money into it. That $20,000 isn't just there. We can refinance our house. When we got an appraisal, so we bought a house for $430,000. Our last appraisal was for $535,000. So we have $100,000 in equity that we can just pull from our property right now and buy another one. There's a 5-minute clip I wanted to play. Do you guys want to listen to a 5-minute audio clip? Sure. I think it's pretty good. It's by Dave Ramsey, this bald guy over here. Anyway, it's good. Just listen, okay? And give me a little bit of a break.
Over here. A friend of mine who is a multi-millionaire that sells investments was very successful at a very young age. And he in his life illustrated this in a story he tells from the stage. Shared a stage with him just a little while back. An amazing story. It illustrates it perfectly. He was 26 years old, and his goal was to make his first $100,000 income year. And he was good. He was on his way. That's pretty sharp at 26, would you agree? And he's out there and he's selling investments, and he had saved up $40,000 cash, and this is 1982. $40,000 cash. It was setting in his mutual fund. And his goal was, when I hit $100,000 this year, I'm going to treat myself for working hard and hitting that goal. I'm going to take that $40,000 and I'm going to buy a brand new Mercedes. Now, in 1982, $40,000 would buy a pretty nice brand new Mercedes. That's a while back. Keep that in mind. Now, what he did was he hit his $100,000, right? So he takes his $40,000 out. He said, I got in my Volkswagen Diesel Rabbit that I hated. Everywhere I went, my clothes smelled like diesel. You had to push it down the ramp to get it up to 55 miles an hour. And he said, I drove up to the Mercedes dealer. Now, he's a 26-year-old kid in a Diesel Rabbit. The Mercedes dealer asked him what he's there to deliver. And he said, well, I'm actually here to buy that one. And the guy says, well, how are you going to pay for it? And he said, well, I have the cash. I just pulled it out of my mutual fund. Suddenly, he got the salesman's attention. And the salesman did what's called the puppy dog close. He sent the item with him. RCA perfected the puppy dog close back in the 50s with televisions. They would send the television home with you for a test drive. And when all the neighborhood came around and saw that you got a television, pride would not let you bring it back. The puppy dog is, if you take the puppy dog home, it's too cute and cuddly to bring back, so you buy the item. That's what the test drive is called. It's a puppy dog close. Let you take the car home overnight, and all your friends see it. And he said, I got behind that wheel of that Mercedes, Dave. He said it was sweet. I was driving that thing. I drove up to my parking spot in the office. Everybody came out of the office and said, man, way to go. You've done a great job. You deserve this. You're the man. Look at this. Everybody's bragging on my car. I hadn't bought it yet. I'm test driving it. He said, I drove it home. And he said, it was the coolest thing. He said, out there on the hood was an emblem, the Mercedes emblem, looking at you. And that emblem was talking to me. It said, you're a success. You're a success. You're a winner. And he said, in case I forget to look out there, they've got one on the steering wheel, too. And he said, I'm driving that thing along. I'm enjoying that thing. And he said, I got home. And he said, I told my wife, this is the safest car, and they hold their value. And all my neighbors came around, and they said, man, this is a great car, and you deserve your success. You've worked so hard. And he said, I almost bought it. He said, Dave, I made a mistake. I got my calculator out. And I looked at, because I sell mutual funds, what those mutual funds might be worth someday. And he said, I drove that car back, and I picked up my old Diesel Rabbit. He said, I went and bought me a $6,000 old Chevrolet, slightly used, and he said, I drove that for many years. He said, the weirdest thing happened the other day. Now, the time that I was sharing a stage with him that I got to hear this story the first time was back in 1994, 12 years after the story occurred. And that's the first time I met this gentleman. And he said, Dave, true story, I was driving along the other day in my Rolls Royce, thinking of Grey Poupon. And he said, I pulled up at a stoplight, and a guy pulled up in that same car that I had looked at all those years before, a 1982 Mercedes, the same color that I had wanted. He said, I couldn't resist. He said, I rolled down my window, and he said, I asked the guy, had him roll down his window. He said, I asked him, he said, I don't want to be rude or anything, sir, but what's that car worth? And the guy got a big smile on his face, and he said, man, it is perfect condition, low miles, all the records are here. I just bought it for $4,000. And he said, I kind of smiled to myself, and I went home and I pulled the mutual fund statement out of my drawer because I'd never added anything else to that $40,000. And from 1982 to 1994, 12 years, the mutual fund had grown from $40,000 to $285,000, and the $40,000 car was worth $4,000. That's opportunity cost on your money. Nothing evil or wrong about buying a $40,000 Mercedes, but that illustrates what that money can become when we let it do the right kinds of things and we don't fall for it. Because see, now he is a multimillionaire because he continued to make decisions like that and literally really does have a Rolls Royce. What an amazing thing. Not sure I want one. I kind of think they're ugly, but still.
Yeah, so interesting story, right? So really making those sacrifices up front, driving that beater car, you know, that can really make such a huge difference. Really saving as much as you can right now and putting it into an investment can just have these compounding effects that will really affect your future. So this actually I shared with my middle schoolers, but I think it's a really great example of how much like the power of a good habit and investing early can really make a difference. So how many of you guys can think of a bad habit that you have that you spend like $3 a day? Maybe you go to Starbucks every day on your way to work and you spend that $3. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have something that you spend some amount of money on a daily basis that you don't need to be spending. So think of that $3 item that you're spending every day that you don't need to spend, and instead try to think of a way to save that, because you're spending around $1,000 every year. You know, $365 times 3, that's $1,000 every year. These are middle schoolers, so they're only 15 years old. Maybe you guys have a shorter span than 60 years from now when you're 75. But over that 60-year span, that's $60,000, you know, that you've spent on this $3 item. That's a lot of money. $60,000 is a lot of money, right? But if instead you were to invest that $3 every single day for the rest of your life, for that 60-year span, just when you're 75, okay, when we're 80 years old, for us guys here, and you receive 8% interest on your money every year for that $3 that you invest, 8% is the standard amount, is a pretty typical amount that the stock market has increased, but let's go with it, okay? So $1,000, 8% of $1,000, so in 1 year you'd make $80 on that amount. The next year you'd make 8% on that $1,080 and additional $1,000, so you'd make $2,080. And then the next, okay, so you'd make $2,080, you'd make 8% on the $2,080, so that's $166 in year 2. And then in year 3, that would grow to $3,246. In year 60, how much do you think that money grows into at 8% return?
$400,000.
Anyone other guesses?
Right,
it's upwards of 400. It's more than 400,000. That's $3 a day that you're investing. How much does that grow into in 60 years?
600.
More than 600.
800.
More than 800. It grows into $1,556,000. That's at $3 a day from when you were 15. If you were 15 years old and you started investing $3 every day. So instead of drinking that Starbucks coffee, go invest it. There's a great online calculator that shows this. It's called the Latte Factor calculator. So you can kind of do that on your own if you don't believe me. So instead of spending $3 for the rest of your life and spending that $60,000 over the course of your lifespan, invest it and make that into $2 million. $3 a day, we can all do it. There's no excuses. So I want to talk a little bit about working on your defense. The best way that Sunri and I found, when we first got married, what we did is we kind of created a budget. And we didn't want to, I don't know, we couldn't trust ourselves to create a grocery budget, a clothes budget, a food budget, a car budget. So we just said, you know, we want to spend, I don't know, $500 a month. You know, that's all we want to allot for all our everyday expenses, $500 a month. And here's kind of a list of our, it was $450 a month, and we stick to that to this day. So we allot ourselves $450 a month each, you know, and that equals around 11 grand a year. That's a lot of money. But so $450 a month for everything else. That doesn't include a phone bill, which we track separately, a gym membership, car insurance, health insurance, dental insurance. We pay rent to our parents, and the house expenses, tithe, and stuff like that. $450 money for gasoline, for food purchases, any essential things you want to do. And so what we did is we just took $450 out of our bank account and we put it in an envelope at home, and for that whole month, we would only spend from that $450 a month. $450 a month sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? It sounds like we're spending a whole lot of money. But I challenge you guys, take out an amount and put it in an envelope and try to spend only from that for your month. And if you make an online purchase, you buy something on Amazon, just take that away from that envelope and put in something else, okay? But see how much you guys are spending. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. If you guys can do $450, I'd be impressed. Especially if you're starting to kind of if you're a child and you have other expenses and obligations. But really, the key to working on your defense is first to measure your expenses. Then create that budget. So after we kind of baselined our expenses by doing that, we were able to create that budget for ourselves. And our budget is $450 a month to this day. That's what we try to spend. We have a little app on our phone. It's called the Saver app. And basically, you put in, you manually enter whatever expenses you have. So we go to McDonald's and we buy off the dollar menu, because that's what we do. We buy 3 items. We would put $3 food in there, and then at the end of the month, it has a $450 go down counter, and we try to make sure that we're in income. And especially if you're sharing, like if you share your finances, which I recommend personally. Me and Son, we share all our finances, and then it's a great way for like when birthdays come around. So you sacrifice from your, because when you share your money, it's like, here honey, I got you a gift. Great, we share money. I could have bought that for myself. But when you instead have a budget, you are taking away from your own. So I could have used that $50 to go buy myself a nice, I don't know what I would want, but a nice watch, you know. And instead, I take away from that spending power that I have that much, and I instead sacrifice that for a nice gift for my wife. Now she can kind of appreciate that. It's not that I just bought her a gift from our shared pool of money. It's now I sacrificed my own budget for your happiness. You know, so I feel like that's a great perk of creating a budget. Sleep on your big buying decisions. Don't just go to the mall and say, I want that. Go to the mall and see it and say, okay, I'm going to sleep on it for one day and see if you really need it. So these are some good ways to work on your defense. Pay yourself first automatically. You get a direct deposit paycheck at work. Instead of putting that full 100%, most places allow you to allocate 2 things. So put 90% into your main bank account, but put 10%. Open up a Vanguard Roth IRA. I recommend just open up a Vanguard Target Retirement account of $2,060 for most of us, and just do that as like really low expense ratios. You need $1,000 to open it, so just save up money, open it for $1,000, and then allocate 10% to go into that. Or you can just put 10% into a money market account until you have $1,000, and then you could buy that account. But anyway, just automatically put that money away. I think everyone can do 10% at least. Try to do more. Don't buy liabilities. Don't buy carpet. Man, I was talking to this one BC. He's a smart kid, but he bought it used too, a used Honda Accord, but he had to get it financed, and he's paying 22% interest on that car.
No.
If I could make 22% money on an investment, I would be so happy. And instead, he's taking. So that's like, so you bought that car for $1,000. Every year, you're paying a quarter of that to the people. So $250. Here you go, out of my pocket. 22%. That's crazy. So don't try not to take out car payments. And if you can pay cash for a vehicle, a nice used vehicle. I bought my 2009 Honda Fit with 60,000 miles on it for $3,000. And I bought that in 2013. It was only 4 years old. But if you have cash is a huge buying power. You wave cash to someone and they're like, oh, I want that cash. And they'll go down on your price. You can negotiate, And get rid of that credit card debt. We're talking about investing to get 8%. We'll be happy if we get 10% on our money. Credit card debt, you have like 17%. They charge you 17% interest, 20% interest. Get rid of that credit card debt first. And stay away from those. If you can't handle your finances, don't get a credit card. I'll go more into that. But if they're going to give you 2% cash back, only get a credit card if you're going to pay it off at the end of every month. Don't get a 2% cashback credit card only to not pay it off and get charged 17% in a fee. So some tips, spend cash. Cash is painful. Credit cards are very easy to spend. So at least until you get your financials under control, spend cash. It's a lot harder to spend fork over a $100 bill than it is to charge $100 on a credit card. Pack your own lunch to work. It's that $3 a day. You're saving at least $5 a day probably. And that can become $1.5 million. You saw that. So pack your own lunch, and there you go. You are now a millionaire. Limit your eating out. Travel hacking. So like I said, once you get your financial stuff in order, then you can start looking at those credit cards with great offers. Summer and I went to Japan for $40, and that was by getting a credit card that gave us 60,000 miles, which was enough to get us to Japan and back. So both of us went to Japan for $40. If you want to learn more about that, there's a lot of online forums about things like that. We went to Europe. It was a little more expensive. It was $140 for the 2 plane tickets to get to Europe. But yeah, so we've done, and we had to pay for veil, and for international flights, you do have to pay for babies under 2. You have to pay 10%. So in total, it was like $220 for him and $120 for us. So it was like around $400 for both of us to go to Europe. Travel hacking is pretty cool. Live at home. You save so much money by living at home. My mom cooks the best dinners. I want to stay at home as long as possible. I won't go into it. It's not important. Cut down on recurring bills. Maybe you have like magazine subscriptions. Things like, I don't know, some people have crazy bills. Like you see our monthly expenses. We have very minimal things going on here. I have a gym membership that I pay $144 a month annually. We have a $23 a month phone bill each. We use T-Mobile because when Sunri and I first got married, she had AT&T and she was paying like $50 a month. And I'm sure most of you are paying that. But that's a lot of money to be forking over every month. Try to minimize all these recurring expenses. Buy used. Almost 90% of the appliances we bought for our family came from Craigslist and eBay. And really, we bought a ridiculous amount of really high-end, really clean, used appliances that everyone who walked into our rental house was, whoa, this is amazing. I've never seen something like this. I didn't even know these existed. And we paid 10% of what they paid new, 20%, 30%. Okay, so did I cover everything I wanted to? Yeah, I think so. So working on your offense, how I kind of got started. When I was like 10 or 15, I would ride my bicycle to CVS and buy like big bulk candy bags. And then I set up a little store in my living room and I'd sell to my siblings. So I'd buy in bulk and then sell individually siblings. I've since progressed from that. When I was 15, I opened up, I got a debit card, I opened a PayPal account and an eBay account. And I started just selling things randomly throughout the house. And now I have like 700 transactions on eBay that I've done throughout the years. I then went on to flipping cars. I've bought and sold 22 cars in my life, and these are like cheaper cars, they're usually around a $1,500 price point. I worked for 6 months at Taco Bell to build up enough capital to buy my first car. So 6 months. On the day I quit Taco Bell, at the 6-month mark, I bought my first car that same day I quit. I bought that car for, I think, $1,375, and then I cleaned it up. I didn't really even fix it up, I just really cleaned it. It took me 2 months to sell, but I sold it for $2,800. So I doubled my profit. I just searched on Craigslist for a super good deal, and then I just sold it on Craigslist too for $2,800. So I made 100% profit. And I went on to sell like 22 cars, and that's pretty much how I funded my college tuition. My parents paid $300 for my college. That's it. Everything else I self-funded. And then I got a really nice scholarship. I applied for this scholarship with the DOD, and they paid after my sophomore year. So this is just ways I built up income, right? So the scholarship was called the Smart Scholarship. You guys should look into it. Ivan Dixon just got it. He's the first one that I think actually went for it. I've been trying to tell people, go for this scholarship. It's for anyone in the science, technology, engineering fields. And they'll pay full tuition and give you 25 grand in your pocket. So I got that for 2 years. So for 2 years, I had 50 grand to work with. And I didn't spend that. I didn't go buy a nice fancy car. I saved that money. And that's kind of money that helped me buy my house. So yeah, look for those scholarships. That's another way to get money. And then I started investing in the stock market too with those funds that I got from the scholarship. And then I have my career now after graduating. I'm a mechanical engineer. Like I said, I make $80,000 a year, which is pretty sweet. And then we got into real estate investing. We bought our rental property, which has given us rental cash flow. It's given us $4,400 a month. And then now I'm just trying to find other passive income streams. I'm just trying to start up a blog. Blogs make money by showing ads and driving traffic, and people click on your ads. I also started that Amazon business. I'm trying to explore how that's going to make me money. And yeah, so just kind of once you start kind of getting into money and start thinking about money, things will just happen, you know. And yeah, so that's kind of ways that I work. The things in red are things that I have to put I have to put time in order to get money back. The things in green are just things I can set on autopilot that'll kind of make money for me. Of course, there's a little bit of work you have to do in like a real estate investment, but it's not like you put in an hour and then you get $1 back. You put in an hour and maybe it'll continually, as long as you build a good system, it'll continually give you profits. So you can go to Japan on a vacation, you can still be making money. You know, I'm here and I'm sure I'm selling around like one pacifier every 2 hours or something, you know, and that's money just coming in. I'm also getting rental checks. So get your dollars working for you. Invest in assets, and not assets like cars. Those are liabilities. So in your education, which I think most of you are investing in, is an asset. You know, that's going to help you get more money. Stocks, IRAs, real estate, passive cash flow business. I guess that's it. Questions?